This is the 16th year of field work in southeast Utah for the wood rats. Been out here a while. Spent 6 weeks in the field this summer. Did our 4th season on Slickhorn Canyon work in Cedar Mesa and our 2nd year in Deep Basin to the northwest of here. Okay. Most of the stuff we work on, as you heard before, is cliff run stuff, Lake Pueblo 3 in the canyons, deep canyons, high canyons, ledges, rappelling, all kinds of stuff. I learned some rappelling this year, but I ended up on my back going down one of them. Thank you, Ben. Anyway, we started in Fable Valley in May. We worked on a single site in there, red wall, a cliff run in there that was documented back in the 1930s. P3, not much wood there in Beef Basin or down in the Fable Valley anyway, but Great Barrier Rock Art on top of some sooting in there. We've hit a number of very deep rock shelters that are really sooted that predate the Pueblo 3 occupations. So we're sort of interested in that. They seem to have large deposits in the back, but not much cultural material. I'm thinking maybe some archaic stuff. Anyway, we took a couple samples from these. We'll get them C14 data and see what's going on. I wouldn't be surprised if they go back several thousand years. I don't know. So we're going to check that. Fable Valley was a bit nippy in May. We had snow flurries. We had bears going up and down the trails that we walked on every day. But, it's an experience. Very tough go driving down there. In June, we helped Ben out with his building murals project. A little repelling there in Fish Canyon. Worked at a site near Moon House. Okay, again, mostly intact structures. Our goal is to document these things thoroughly with detailed maps and so forth for the BLM. Mainly our handler Don Simonis for the BLM is focusing on where we're going out there. So we're working for him and the BLM primarily. And then in July and August we worked on Cedar Mesa and then back in Beef Basin. Did a few lease ins to Slickhorn starting off. Then we went to Lewis Lodge in the forest to do some more work there, which we started several years ago. Did a few more maps there. Still have a little work left on that one. We'll finish it up. A site that's well dated by us now in the 1260s. I'll return to that 1260 mark. Then we went back to Slickhorn again. God, that's worked on a couple kivas there. We worked on wood kiva, a kiva that's made entirely of wood. It had 80 upright support logs forming the walls. Oh, bummer. And then with the usual roof on top of that. So with the completion of that, we probably have 4 or 5 sites left in Slickhorn that need to be done, and we'll have all the canyon system done with the major sites, I think, with wood. We got our first dates back from Slickhorn earlier this year, after 3 years. So I'll talk about that in a second. And then we just got out of Beef Basin yesterday. We worked in there for about 10 days. Beef Basin is an interesting place. You may have read that in the University of Utah papers from some time ago. Rudy worked in there in the 1950s. The place is loaded with towers and all kinds of pinnacle sites and defensive sites and things like that. We recorded and worked on a number of tower sites last year. This year we worked at High House, which is a complex of a number of rectangular and round rooms, 13 rooms in the site, and 2 3-story towers adjacent to one another. It is the first site I've seen out in that area, and most of the stuff we worked on that actually is probably late 1000s, early 1100s. The rest of the towers look like 1200 stuff, but this definitely had a lot of mancos and macomb on it, no mesa verde. It actually had quite a bit of wood on it. We documented 100 pieces of wood on High House, and we collected 45 samples. Most of it in pretty bad condition. Most of the wood out there is not sheltered. It's out in the open with towers and everything, so the results are probably not going to be great. It looks like a fair amount of use of Douglas fir. And we went back to our little forest, our second grove of trees there, growing on one of the mesas there of Douglas fir, and recorded more Douglas fir there and some biggies up there, and I think we'll go back next year and get some samples out of this dead and live Douglas fir to help with the chronology of the tree lab. sample we took last year, one of the smaller samples we took from one of the dead trees had 600 rings in it. So, you know, we may overlap that prehistoric period there with those Douglas firs. But we do see quite a bit of use of Douglas fir in some of the sites there. Okay. We also worked on High House is also nearby a couple other towers that we sort of recon this year. We don't know if they're in line of sight, but I think they are. We're taking a night session down at that doggone canyon to figure it out. Very close. So we're interested in that late occupation, late 1200s occupation in Beef Basin. So we'll spend a couple more years in there. Okay. Our work in first field season in Slickhorn was sponsored by a grant from Canyonlands Natural History Association. We finally got our results back after 3 years. Much pain and anguish, you know, over the grant, trying to meet the deadlines, which we could never make, you know, with a 3-year turnaround of the treeing lab. Dating on Slickhorn and Cedar Mesa, southern Cedar Mesa. Slickhorn is next to Grand Gulch to the southeast and further down the mesa. So, not too many good trees down there, drier down there, and the treeing results from the first year show it. We probably got 15% of the stuff to date. Not very good, but we did get some good results. We are having a clustering I'm seeing now across the board around 1250, 1260 for these very defensive sites. So I'm seeing sort of a move into the canyon where the sites have barriers and entrances and so forth that you have to go through around, I'd say around 1260 AD. Something's happened in that short period of time, and I hope to refine that later on, see if we can pin it down. But I have at least 3 or 4 sites now with those dates right around 1260, and all kinds of defensive measures being taken. So, you know, it's an event area that we're going to look closer at. Our work also helps others dealing with the population, you know, stuff that's going on in the western, northern San Juan, and we hope with our tree rearing and dendrochronology work that we can refine some of that temporal work that we've been working on Cedar Mesa and elsewhere. Finally, and back in New Mexico. Did some historic work in Guyana. There's historic buildings there for Ren Thomas out of Utah. Upright post Hispanic stuff, probably from the early 1800s, I suspect. Hundreds of logs in these things. You wouldn't know it if you looked at them because they're plastered over and they look like adobe houses. But they're solid logs, not even logs like this. So, lots of neat stuff there. We documented those, took some samples for Ren. The second thing is I got the first batch of dates back from the Santa Ana Mission Church. 130 dates. I've got another 150 in the till that I should be getting back. We sampled every piece of wood in there that was possible in that church. Probably documented something in the neighborhood of 400 pieces of wood. We took every viga, we took every corbel. So it gives us an interesting pattern. It's got to be the best dated mission church in the Southwest. We're going to have that. Interesting, it was historic Spanish documents say the thing was built approximately, built down below where the old village is. An older church was burned up on top of the mesa when the Spanish came back, but the original church that is now present was supposedly built in 1740 and 1750, and that's exactly what we see from our corbel sample. The vigas are a mess. Almost nothing dates in that period from the vigas. And those are, of course, the ones we always go with when we're doing historic buildings. Vigas are the worst ones you can collect samples from. And the ones at the church are almost all 1800s, 1900s. They run a span, I mean, just dates after date of replacement vigas and so forth. Tend to rot out up there in those roofs. But the corbels are good news. And we're looking at the carvings and so forth on the corbels to try to get some understanding of how many people did it and so forth. Do have some dates, but most of my sample for doorways, windows, and other kinds of miscellaneous stuff stuck in the walls is still down at the lab. But we got a lot of original doors and so forth. We got everything, including the altar. They said, do what you gotta do. What we do. Okay, finally, on the publication level, the final Basket Maker Pueblo 1 publication done years and years ago. It's down at ASM. should be out next year for volume 1, for all the surveys and excavation stuff I did on the chocolate project. I also have a paper on Port Kivas and Kiva, which will be coming out, and another paper on Isleta Mission Church, as well as the early Chaco Navajo occupation, are good results from those projects. Thank you.